Hey Rebecca, just letting you know we're about 5 minutes away from the shelter period. Who would you like me to check in with when we arrive? Question mark.
The United States is a nation of pet lovers. Over 2/3 of the population have at least one pet. These pet owners spend over $50 billion on their pets, a third of that on veterinary care alone. And yet, despite this love and devotion, nearly 8 million pets end up in shelters each year. The shelters become full and they run out of room to keep up with the growing number of intakes. This leads to the fact that 3 to 4 million are killed simply because they have no place to call home. That means more than 9,000 pets per day lose their lives in an animal shelter, one pet every 10 seconds. 9,000 lives, in the fullest sense of the word, are wasted every day.
Oakland Animal Services is the municipal shelter. We're an open door, open admission shelter, means we take in every animal of every type, and regardless of condition, regardless of age, regardless of behavior. We're sort of the safety net for both the animals and the human residents of Oakland. It's my responsibility to make sure that we're providing the best possible services to the residents, both two-legged and four-legged, of Oakland, in terms of providing support for the people here, as well as providing a place to shelter animals, get them back to their owners, or get them into wonderful new homes, or to develop relationships with adoption partners so that we can get them out of here and into their new homes.
So the troubles that a city shelter has, especially here in Oakland, is that there are a lot of animals that get surrendered on a daily basis. Oakland is a big city, and there are a lot of animals, dogs, cats, rabbits, that get surrendered daily here. And so it makes it very difficult to be able to help the public when they're here and they're surrendering their dog for something as simple as the dog, won't sit or the dog won't lay down. So, I wish we had more resources so animals wouldn't get dumped at shelters. We need behaviorists, we need trainers, we need more volunteers, and Oakland is a city that suffers, and therefore the animals suffer. So every day I see animals coming in, as well as animals do get adopted, but it's hard when you see one dog adopted and 10 getting surrendered.
Hey Chancey, how you doing? Good. Did I catch you at work or did you finish up? No problem. It's come that time in my trip where I'm trying to finalize the list of dogs that we're going to pull out of here. And I know that you and Dacia had mentioned you might be able to take a little one, especially once Sam and Becky get back and Fergie goes back to them. Is the pit bull puppy that I listed a chance for you guys, or do you guys not want to have to deal with the puppy stages at this point in time? That's great news. Great news. Yeah, I think so. And also, even if you had him for a couple weeks and gave us a better idea of what he's like, it would just, we're bringing so many dogs back that once we can free up some of those fosters, maybe we can move him into a complete open foster in a couple weeks, but at least having a spot for him when we get back. And plus, with your pit bull experience, you could, give us all an idea a week or two from now how he's doing. So that would be great. Yeah. And he's a really nice little guy. Like we've had him out. We had a trainer meeting with him, and he's been around a lot of other dogs. So we really like him. But obviously, we need to make sure we can line up the foster before we decide to pull him out of here. So.
There are tens of thousands of Americans who are involved in dog fighting. Oakland is one city where this is prevalent.
Banksy is a young pit mix who was found by some people on the street and with very serious injuries. His whole face, this whole side of his face, was about 3 times the size that it is right now. He had multiple wounds all over his body, and he looked pretty pathetic. The bites were so strong that it broke multiple teeth within his jaw. And they think that perhaps his jaw might even have been broken. So that was a pretty serious injury that he suffered. But he had a really positive, he's one of these glass half full types of dogs.
Well, I'd agree, probably a fracture up here, but it's not affecting his teeth.
No, he seems to eat fine.
Great, yeah. I mean, he's got a great occlusion,
Yeah.
so it's probably
Yeah.
just up here.
Yeah, that was
zygomatic arch or something.
Yeah, and that was the side that was tremendously damaged.
People need to learn more about responsible pet ownership. They need to learn more about the importance of spay and neuter, and they need to learn more about the benefit of going to adopt an animal rather than buy one. I think people have misunderstandings of what shelter animals or animals with our rescue partners, what they are. They think they're somehow damaged goods, or that unless you get an animal that is a puppy or a kitten or a baby animal, that there's something wrong with them. And that's so inaccurate. And so what we see in the Bay Area is we don't see enough spay neuter, for sure. We don't see enough humane education about ways in which people can keep their animals. And so we see them flooding the shelters. And in particular, we see Chihuahuas and pit bulls and mixes like that coming into the shelters. And so we have here in Oakland twice as many animals coming in per capita, which means that it's hard to get them out and get them placed. And they're wonderful, wonderful animals. And as proud as I am of the work that our volunteers and staff do here, a shelter is not an ideal place for any animal. They're much better off in a home, which is especially important for our adoption partners because most of our partners have foster homes for these animals, and we see them really flourish in that environment. The challenge is really educating the public and reducing overpopulation.
I devote my free time to take dogs out, dogs that are kenneled up all day, take them outside to the front yard where they can run around, teach them basic obedience like sit, down, or if not, I walk them around the building on leash and practice leash manners with the dogs. So when people visit them, they at least have some basic knowledge of commands that they learn here from the volunteers. I also do adoption counseling, which means when people are interested in dogs, they come in to visit them and I help them. I take the dog out, I ask them questions, I give them advice. If it's a good match, then I let them know. If it's not, I offer to show them a different dog that might be more better fit for them.
We're coaching dogs, not training them and expecting immediate results. I help show owners that, look, it's your life. There are things that you can do to make your life better, to make your dog's life better. So it doesn't matter the situation, the way if you have an aggressive dog or you have a reactive dog or you have just need a regular obedience or if you need service dogs, they all get to learn the same things, and it's about you just showing your dog what you want before you expect it. So we have a goal. We take tiny steps up to that, and we visualize what we want. That way we know how to get there.
I also do free dog training classes as just a hobby. I decided to become a certified dog trainer, and I teach free basic obedience classes every other Saturday in the front lawn to anyone who's adopted from the shelter and needs just some basic help. So they come in, bring their dogs on leash, and we go over very basic exercises. They meet other people, and it becomes sort of a group community type of, everyone helps each other. So it works out great, and I love volunteering here just because it's a city shelter. It's a tough shelter to be in, but a place like this needs all the help they can get.
So I want to keep dogs out of shelters by training, by showing people, look, this is what you can do. It's your life, bottom line. The dog will adapt. The reason why I feel that most people give up on their pets is lack of education, and they want an immediate result. The immediate result is through coaching and teaching. They think a dog means training you do this, you get this result. It's not always the way it's going to be. You got to find their motivation. A lot of people just don't want to take the time to find that motivation to get their dog to listen. And that's what I want to show people. It's not that difficult. It's not about correcting them to get them what you want them to do. It's about teaching them and showing you, just like with kids. This means sit, this means stay, this means down. And you reward them for it. You find their motivation to actually want to listen. Whether it's a toy, whether it's a treat. If it's a treat, find the highest value treat.
We're also bringing up, it's an incredibly sad story. In fact, here he is up on my lap. His name is Banksy. He's 8 months old, and he was a bait dog. He's got scars all over his face, broken teeth, in pretty bad shape, but has scored incredible behavior scores, and he's literally up here loving me on my lap right now. And we're really excited for him. I mean, but he has been through a ton of stuff, and he just got neutered. But he's a little bit bigger. He's not as small as the one that I showed you a video of, but he is a smaller pit bull. I bet he only ends up being about a 40-pound pit bull, but he's real sweet. So I guess bottom line is if you could at least commit to one of these smaller pits, I think then we can take the batch I was hoping to take. So I just wanted to call and make sure that was okay with you. Does that sound good? Okay. Awesome.
We're gonna make you official here. Oh, if I can get you to stop wiggling long enough. Does he want name tags on the dogs like that name? Okay, I'll get. Hi. Well, we got Banksy in there with a toy.
I know the whole story about this little guy, so it's nice that I'm happy that he's going. He came in, he was very scared and skittish. He didn't want anybody to really play with him or anything, just because unfortunately in Oakland people use bait dogs for dog fighting, and he came to us with really bad shape, bad skin issues. But the first day I went in there with him, started playing with him and gave him food. He ate 2 big bowls full of food, and then the next couple days like several people were taking him out, and he just warmed up to us.
Basically, dog fighters, and of any caliber. So you have dog fighters who are like just the neighborhood people who might think it sort of fun to see if my dog's badder than your dog. And then you have, they upscale to where there's money involved, etc. And so they have to train their dogs to actually fight. And so they will use usually a weaker, either smaller dog or young dog like this one that don't pose.
4 minutes. We will be closing in 4 minutes.
A dog that doesn't pose a serious threat to their dog, and so they'll allow the dog to actually injure the bait dog, because then once a dog is actually bit and fought with another dog, they're much more likely to fight with another dog, and they'll praise them and give them treat their own the fight dog, and so oftentimes these guys will end up dead and just throwaways. So they'll be put in like a garbage bin or trash heap, or just left on the street. That's what a bait dog is. So it's to get the blood flowing, literally.
Hi, babies.
Come see my least favorite room in the shelter. I really am not crazy about this room. This is the overnight drop box area. It's where when the police department finds dogs outside, roaming free or whatever it is, they bring them in, and there's a door on the other side. I can open this up and show you what it looks like. So there's a door that only the police department has a key to on the outside, and they'll put dogs in, and then it locks afterwards, and then in the morning our officers can take them out and all of that. My issue with it is they're sitting in basically a dark box overnight. We are so full right now that we're even housing dogs in here, which I hate even more. And we're not funded at the level we need to be. We don't have the resources we need. And it makes it very difficult to provide the appropriate care. I found that the work is incredibly rewarding. There's definitely extremely challenging parts of it and extremely sad parts of it, but overall, on balance, it's more rewarding than depressing. I think people have a misunderstanding of the work we do and see it as a sad thing, whereas there's so many wonderful outcomes for animals and for people that I'm really proud of the work we do. I think it takes a village to help as many animals as possible, and there's no doubt in my mind that we could not do what we do successfully without partnerships. And our transport and transfer and adoption partners have been critical to our success here. There's different desires, different demands, different interests in different places, and if these animals can get into homes faster somewhere else, I'm thrilled to see them go out and get into a home because they're, again, wonderful animals, and that's what we want for them.
Figure that out.
Hey,
I'm working.
is this going to be enough towels for you, or do you need more?
We may need a few more because I actually want to lay some down on the car because I don't need like puppy diarrhea on my rental car with that.
On that, we should use the
I'm sorry. I got one more for ya. So he hasn't eaten yet. They were busy cleaning, but I did give him a bath though. Gave him a bath and cut his nails, so he's all set.
Look at that baby.
This is gonna be your toy.
Oh, you go in there. That's a good baby.
What a sweet little puppy.
He's going to love that toy.
I'll miss you. Bye, buddy. Bye.
Oh, great.
Oh, that was my best friend.
I wrote some notes for the foster.
Animal shelters often work closely with rescue groups. While shelters might run out of room, rescue groups can find volunteers with space in their homes for temporary placement. Rescue groups give these dogs an opportunity for a second chance at life.
Directions to Buckley, Washington.
Getting directions to Buckley.
So really, out of the 5 that are not KC of some sort, there's the one has a cherry eye, and he needs to be neutered. And then there's one other that I'm unsure of, and that's it actually. It just is a coincidence that there aren't a million surgeries. And
okay,
honestly,
I'll just start looking at these 5.
Yeah.
So my name is Danette Wood. I'm veterinarian and owner here at Buckley Veterinary Hospital, and we sponsor Left Behind Canine Rescue.
Let's see this one on his face. So Chansey on him, multiple healing bite wounds on face. Has he been sneezing or anything, Jeff?
No. And I'm looking at Val's notes right now. She did some good bullet point notes that you might want to look at because there's a lot of stuff with this dog.
Can you read them to me?
Yeah, so did the neuter a couple days ago on the 7th.
It was excited to see the rescue and be a part of it because there's such a need for it. The shelters are just overwhelmed with pets. We euthanize so many dogs and cats every year. As a veterinarian, it's very difficult to watch that. So to see the pets that are slated for euthanasia at these shelters, sheerly due to overpopulation, and rescue those, it's a really good feeling.
Spay and neuter directly impacts the numbers of animals who are killed each year by reducing the number of pets who end up in shelters. These routine procedures may also prevent medical and behavioral problems from developing, allowing our pets to lead longer, healthier, and happier lives.
So it's great to be able to pull so many dogs out of the shelter and get them to our vet to update them on their medical needs and get them spayed or neutered. But of course, none of this would be possible if we didn't have foster homes to be able to place the dogs in. Rescues can never have enough foster homes because obviously the more foster homes you have, the more dogs you can save at a time. What's great about foster homes is you really get to learn more about the dog and their settings. Get to learn if they're housebroken, how they get along with cats, other dogs, children. Gives us a really good idea that we can tell potential adopters of all their traits so that they can ensure it's the perfect dog for their home.
It's pretty amazing to get these dogs, a day or two after they've gone through the traumatic experience they've been through of being in the shelter, spending the day at the vet, and having surgeries done, to get them home and to have them be mostly pretty well behaved, and all they want is just love and affection and attention. That's all they crave.
I would say that every dog we brought into our home has been definitely a unique experience. Some of them come and they're very timid and shy and almost heartbroken, and others are very outgoing and can't wait to jump in your lap and give you kisses. But they're all extremely grateful to be part of your family and to have a soft bed to lay in and someone to rub their tummy.
A lot of rescues have the ability to have dogs in a foster situation where you can get the dogs out into a real world setting and see how they're doing around, like with our case, how they get along with chickens and horses and the cows on the other side of the fence, and being in a rural type area where most people around here are, and how they can get along with other dogs, small dogs, large dogs, and just seeing what their lives could be like and how they will adjust to that.
I got started volunteering with Left Behind through my sister, who had some foster dogs. And one of the dogs that we had at the time, I had a little deaf pit bull named Delphi who loved everyone and everything. Toothless was listed as Banksy at the shelter, and when he came up, he just looked like a train wreck. I was really hesitant when I knew that he was coming up to not volunteer, because I knew a lot of situations that he could have been put into, and when he came up and got along with everyone and everything again, he was a lot like Delphi. and he was born about the time when she died, so that's a tough one. I ended up giving him his birth date for her death date. Toothless wants to be everyone's friend right from the start. And these two are they're very dominant and they're in control of everything. But he lets them be that way. And he's still really nice to them about it, even though they will hang from his lips and chew on him and chase him around the yard and chew on, just like, they won't let him have any sort of slack. And he doesn't respond with any sort of aggression or anger or anything. He just takes it, and he'll just go to the corner and pout or go to his kennel or go to bed or something, and they just get along that way.
You're a stepping stone, I guess, for the dog to get back into a normal life again. It can be rough sometimes to give the dog away again, especially if you end up having it for a month or 2 months. The last foster we had was a hard one to let go. She fit our lifestyle very well and was just a cool little dog, great personality, very well behaved. But when you think of becoming a foster failure, we'll go back and watch some of the videos of the shelters and the dogs that still need homes and realize that, somebody else wants this dog, and there's plenty of other dogs out there that need homes. So then it makes it worth it that they can, that there's another one coming.
Yeah, these little dogs come into your house and definitely disrupt your home, and then they steal your heart, and it's a pretty cool experience to see them get adopted and become part of someone's family.
Hey Annie, just an update on tomorrow's adoption event, period. It doesn't sound like Daisha can get there until 11, so plan on Banksy arriving around that time, period. Sam and Becky will be there at 10:30 with Simba to help you set up, period. See you tomorrow, period.
I first got started with Left Behind Canine Rescue when I saw an ad in, I think it was the Enum Club newspaper. I had been wanting to volunteer or help out with rescue dogs. Our adoption events are at the Bonnie Lake Petco. They give us an area there to use for the weekend. I definitely think having the dogs out at a pet store is a really good way to adopt dogs out. We get a lot of traffic through the pet store. A lot of people coming in that have maybe one dog or a cat, and they're there just buying dog food, and they see these other dogs and they're like, oh, maybe my dog needs a buddy, or they had thought about it. It also gives them exposure to a rescue, which they might not have known how to find otherwise. We pretty much talk to anyone that comes and shows any interest in the dogs. We talk to them about the rescue, and we talk to them about the importance of spaying and neutering their dogs and where the dogs came from, and that we've saved a lot of them from being euthanized. And we have them fill out paperwork if they're interested in a dog and follow up with them.
We've been talking about adopting a second dog, and we happened to be walking past Petco and noticed they had an adoption event. So we stopped in and looked at a couple of dogs, but none of them were really the right dog. But
I was just along for the walk.
They had a picture of Finn, Paquito at the time. And he wasn't at the event, but they had a picture of him, and there was just something about his picture. So we actually came back the second day and met him, and it was love at first sight, I think.
She picked him up and never put him down before we even left.
Yeah. Left Behind let us take him on a trial. So we had 2 weeks to make sure he was the right fit for our house and kind of fit into our lifestyle.
Yeah.
And
it was about 20 minutes at home, and he was like he'd been there his whole life.
So 2 weeks later, we made the adoption official and officially made him part of our family.
Adoption events don't necessarily guarantee the dogs will find a home that day. Some, like Banksy, will have to wait.
I mean, I love animals. Like, I grew up loving animals, especially dogs. And I lost 2 dogs to illnesses, like, too early. And they were from an irresponsible breeder. And that's when I started to learn about the irresponsible breeders. And somehow that connected me into rescues, and I just wanted to do something that would open people's eyes up. And somebody's got to do it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I think we need to try to give them a chance. You said there were 3 of them? Okay. Yeah, well, let's do it, and I can meet you there tonight, definitely. All right, I'll leave right now. Okay, I'll see you soon. Bye. So tonight's situation is a difficult one. It sounds like a breeder lost 3 of its puppies in the litter to parvo, and she's agreed to surrender the remaining 3 to our rescue. Their prognosis doesn't look good, so I'm not too sure how it's going to end up, but we definitely want to do what we can to give these 3 little guys a fighting chance. It's very frustrating because we get calls like this all the time. So many people have no idea where they're getting their dogs from. They just go on Craigslist and search German Shepherd puppies, and 3 people come up who are breeding German Shepherd puppies in their backyard, and they're not vaccinating, they're not registered to do so, and it just leads to a lot of problems. And it's sad because these families don't know any better, and their dogs end up getting sick. They end up bringing them to our vet, and if they can't afford a very expensive treatment, they have one of 2 choices. The first is to euthanize this 8-week-old puppy with its entire life ahead of it, and the second is to surrender it to us, and we'll spend the money to try to see if we can get it through its parvo and find a forever home of its own.
So parvo is a virus that attacks the lining of the intestinal tract, and it causes severe vomiting and diarrhea. Untreated pets usually die just due to dehydration, loss of fluids and electrolyte imbalances. They can also become septic. They need to be hospitalized and treated with IV fluids, antibiotics, things to help with vomiting, and keep them hydrated until the body clears the virus and the intestinal tract heals. That said, it is preventable with vaccine. The treatment for that can become cost prohibitive for some. The longer that the treatment goes, the longer that they're in the hospital.
Of the 3 dogs surrendered, only 2 would make it through the night. Liberty and Otto were fostered by the veterinarians at Buckley Veterinary Hospital and brought up to full health.
So after we adopted Finn, we started following Left Behind on social media, and we actually attended a fundraising event that they had. And the more we learned about the work that they were doing, the more we just fell in love with the organization.
So much goes into running a dog rescue, and there are so many moving parts that a lot of folks lose sight of the fact that we need revenue in order to fund the programs that we're taking care of. 25% of our revenue comes from adoption fees. Another 25% comes from general donations, but half of our annual operating budget comes from our big summer fundraiser, where we hold a dinner and auction event put on by all of our volunteers. We invite all of our supporters and the families who adopted dogs from us to come and join us to celebrate the work that we do. So in addition to being able to raise a lot of money needed for our annual budget, we're also able to have a lot of fun and connect with all the folks that have been such a big part of the work we do.
So somehow at the fundraising event, we ended up on the list
Somehow.
to become foster parents.
We signed up to be foster parents. I had no idea, and my phone number was left, and I get a phone call saying, "Hey, we've got a batch of foster dogs coming up. Are you ready to take one in your home?" Yeah, okay, I guess.
And unfortunately, his sister passed away 90 minutes after being at the hospital. So we were down to 2, but even then, it was a very emotionally charged weekend, but the vet team was working overtime through the night, and we took care of these 2, and here they are today, perfectly healthy. So, yeah.
We met Liberty through my son, who went to the Left Behind Canine Rescue fundraiser, and he took a text message photo and sent it to us. Said, "Here's your new puppy," and we fell in love with her. And we hadn't had a dog for a couple of years, the longest time we've ever gone without a dog. And we just felt we had to have her. And we met her at my son's 4th of July party. And as a result of that, we named her Liberty. It must have been at least 40 to 50, maybe 60 people, and it was absolute mayhem. Children running all over the place, firecrackers, noise. She handled it so well. Kids picking her up. She didn't snap at anybody. She just went with the flow. Had a great personality and adaptation. As a little puppy, she's just full of energy, and she's very playful. She's got a really laid-back disposition. She's was very easy to housebreak, and she's very smart. And I've got in less than 2 weeks she responds to her name, sits, comes. The thing that I like in particular is that it keeps me active.
They're bigger, they're stronger. We don't have the resources to take 5 at a time, but these pit bull puppies are just great because we'll euthanize them too, just because they have so many pit bulls. It's really sad, and they're like puppies, so they have time to grow up with a family and learn, how to live properly with that and all that good stuff. So we try to take a couple of puppies and then maybe one that might be a little bit bigger. We're not too sure about, in terms of we're not sure what their past was like, and then kind of spend a little bit more time working with them, making sure they're okay.
So he is microchipped already, and you have that?
Yep. Yep. So pretty much.
That's probably what's in here.
Yeah. So this is his number here.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll have to register that. In fact, I think I need to email you the instructions to do that.
Yeah. That's
but yeah, he's been.
For now.
He's had all his shots up to date. I believe he needs another round of something just because he's so young.
Yeah.
And then of course he's not neutered, which is the first and only dog we've ever done that for, just because he is so young.
Yeah, my aunt said that she won't do it until he's at least 10 weeks.
Yep. So yeah, she'll know better than I, in terms of, especially when if he's still
Ready.
sick, that she'll want to do it and whatnot. So
because he's gonna have to be healthy enough to handle the recovery.
Yep. So. And then he's probably grown from when he first came in from there, because that was on the 9th. So.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I'll go grab him now if that works. Yeah. You guys can meet your new family.
Oh my God.
Say hi.
Look at him. Oh my God, he's beautiful.
We call that you're a comb over.
It's so cute.
It just lays that way all the time.
That's awesome.
Look at you, buddy.
He's so pretty.
Okay, come back. Come say hi.
Hello, guy. So mellow.
Yeah, he really is. He really is. He's been a very, very nice dog.
You're a little sweetheart.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You wave bye? Bye-bye. As far as pit bulls go, It's 1 in 600. The last I read on statistics as far as how many actually make it into a forever home. So for every one pit bull that's rescued or that's in an actual forever home for the duration of its life, 599 are dead. And if you look at all these dogs that are actually the ones that are making it, they didn't even come from good starts. So what's the statistic on the number of pit bulls that are even getting to a good home by way of being completely abused and beaten? And it's a pretty depressing thought to think of that a dog that's been so completely just destroyed at the hands of people are the ones that are taking are the ones taking the hit for it. And the 1 in 600 that are actually out there doing something positive, that's nothing to how many had the potential. And it's just kind of sad. I'm not sure where it would go if people just kind of start taking care of their dogs and taking responsibility for their training and not, putting them into situations that set them up to fail just continually. And for me, pit bulls are full of love and forgiveness, and they're extremely programmable and reprogrammable. And that's one of the things I think a lot of people miss. They just see what the media tells them, and they forget that their breed standard is actually to do whatever their owner says. Toothless started training about 7 weeks ago with modern day dog training. He's done really well. He got his certificate last weekend for completing his basic commands. He's not going anywhere. He'll join these little guys' family. And so last few nights he's been sleeping in the bed with them. He tries to get in the kennel with them. They try to go everywhere together, which I find really funny because Cinnamon usually just cannot stand the big dogs. But like she did with Delphi, she's starting to really like him. And yesterday morning when she got up and walked around the bed to give everybody her morning kisses, she included him in that and licked his face. And so she's approved of him joining the family too. And now she's glaring at me like she's not, but she does. She approves.
We've had 3 dogs over the past 20 years or so, and they've been hunting dogs, and all were from breeders. This is the first dog that we've ever owned from a rescue shelter, and couldn't be better. I couldn't imagine finding a better dog than her from any breeder anywhere. I've known other people that have had rescue dogs, but I had no idea everything that goes on to get that pooch into a happy home. In Liberty's case, she was near death with parvo. And you guys treated her, nursed her, did all the medical attention that was needed, and kept her from dying. And then went through all the efforts that you have to do to get the dog placed. And so the appreciation that I have for the things that you do is really grown, because I was pretty ignorant about it before, but I'm really happy that I've learned about it and know what a worthwhile, purposeful, meaningful thing that you do.
Hey Rebecca, good news, we just had several adoptions over this past weekend and are hoping to come back to bring up a few more dogs, period. Can you give me a call when you get a chance? ? Hoping to swing on down next weekend if that works for you, period.
Animals are a responsibility, and a wonderful one and a rewarding one. And I joke about how, I leave the house to take the garbage out and I come back 2 minutes later and my dogs are thrilled to see me, and it is really nice to be to have that much love in your life, but you also have to give it back, and you give it back in the form of caring for them, whether it's caring for them with veterinary care, behavioral needs, obviously the general care needs, attention, Animals are living sentient beings, and they deserve our care and attention. And so I just hope that people don't go into it lightly, thinking of it as sort of a short-term commitment, or not thinking about the longevity of the commitment. So that's the big piece of advice I give to people when they're thinking about taking an animal in. But I do urge people to do it because it's so incredibly rewarding.
When you get your dog, love it, enjoy it, play with it, engage with it. Do things one-on-one with your dog. Show it what your lifestyle is. Let it adjust. Don't expect things. Show them what you want. Set them up for success. Don't always expect them to do things. You're going to learn a lot about yourself and learn a lot about your dog in the first month you have your dog. And after you realize it, your relationship's going to bond and just grow, and you're going to want to take your dog everywhere, not need to take your dog everywhere.
If you're not getting a dog for any other purpose but to have a pet and like a family member, then just adopt one. There's plenty.
Increasing our live release rate is dependent on reducing the numbers coming in. That is another educational component that is very critical. I mean, we can do everything in the world that's wonderful at a shelter, but until we stem the tide, it's impossible to get them all out, or work with those that are more challenging and shouldn't be put out from a public safety perspective, or find ways for people to keep their animals in their homes, and all these elements that are humane ed, as I like to say. And I think all of us have a part in that. It's a part of talking to people, becoming culturally competent, educating people about the benefits to an animal's health, the benefit to reducing overpopulation, the benefits of adoption, you name it. And all of us have a responsibility. It's not one adoption group, it's not one shelter, it's not one organization, it's a community issue. And as a community, you know, as Gandhi said, you measure a society's moral progress by the way they treat their animals, and we're not where we need to be.
As overwhelming as this problem may seem, it's certainly not something we can't overcome. We take it one step at a time, helping one dog at a time, and reaching one person at a time. No matter where you live, there's a shelter or a rescue group that needs your help. Contact them to learn how you can get involved. Adopt your next pet. Become a foster home. Volunteer. Donate. Do something, because our four-legged companions are counting on us.
An estimated 17 million people will add a new pet to their families each year. The problem is that only 25% of them choose to adopt. The good news is, if we could move the needle from 25 to 50%, we would no longer have a euthanasia problem, and all homeless pets could find homes of their own.
Why do you do this work, Jeff?
Why do I do this work? That's a really good question. It's back in 2007, I adopted my first dog, and I didn't really know too much about animal shelters or rescue groups at the time. But subconsciously, from things I had heard and just felt, it seemed like the right thing to do to go to a shelter to get an animal instead of getting one out of the classifieds. And so I adopted this dog. His name was Tommy. He was a 10-year-old Pomeranian. He was missing all of his hair. And we felt really bad for him. That's exactly why we decided to adopt him, because we figured, he was older and he would be overlooked because of that. He had some skin and hair issues that might kind of turn other folks away. So he was the one we kind of selected. And it was just, even though he was only with us for 2 years, he just became an incredible best friend. My wife and I had just moved into our new home, and he was the great addition to that. And it was just so hard to believe how well behaved and how loving he was, and to think that for 10 years up until that point, wherever he lived or however long he was on the streets, he would still be so trustworthy and loyal to his human companions. So it really made me see what the shelter dogs, go through, but what they're like, and I feel like they absolutely know when they're being rescued, and that's why he's kind of the inspiration behind this group, and he's obviously, his face is in the logo, and remember on the day we had to put him down, I was sitting in the exam room at Buckley Vet, and I literally looked into his eyes and I told him how much of a difference he made in my life, and I promised him, literally looking him in the eyes, I promised him that I was going to take him and take his story and his inspiration and do something big with it. So that's really why I think I started Left Behind Canine, and obviously had to have his picture in it so that I lived up to that promise. And I think he'd be pretty proud and happy to see all the dogs that we're saving kind of in his honor. So